Hey everyone, this is Mr. Barnett, and this is a walkthrough video for the first level of the Data Analyst project. That level is about classifying data. And below the title of this little video, you will see a learning objective, which is that you can classify data and define data as categorical, quantitative, continuous, discrete, population, and sample. So these are 6 terms that you're going to need to know, and you'll know that you have mastered this level of the course when you are able to define those terms and apply them to your own project. What I'm going to do in this video and other videos like this is just walk you through kind of the basics of these concepts and then give you some ideas to practice. You will go and build that knowledge on your own, and when you're ready, you'll show back to me that you have mastered it, and then you'll be ready to move on to the next skill. So let's get started here. Collecting data. So statistics is the study of data, and we're going to hear this word so much, data. Let me tell you what it means. It means collected information. When you hear data, all you mean is that you're collecting information. When we collect data, we usually collect it about a population, right? About an entire group of people or things. Here are some examples. We might collect data or information about all the students at your school, or we might collect it about all the people in Japan. It doesn't have to be about people. We might collect data about the cars in the parking lot, right? How old are they? What brands are they? What colors are they? Etc. We could collect a lot of information about any one thing, one group of people. Sometimes, though, it's hard to collect data from everyone in the population, right? So if you wanted to collect information from everyone at your school, or everyone in Japan, or all the cars in a big parking lot, that would take you a long time. And we don't have that time always. So what we're going to do is choose what's called a sample. That's a smaller representative group of individuals to study. So if we took our 3 examples, well, instead of asking everyone at the school, we could ask 25 students from each grade. Instead of asking everyone in Japan, we could randomly select 500 people in Japan and speak with them. Or if we were looking at a big parking lot, instead of looking at every car, we just choose every 5th car, right? We look at 5 cars, choose 1. The next 5, choose 1, etc. So that we get a sampling of the data. Note, and probably write this down somewhere, it's essential that a sample fairly represent the chosen population. If we're going to look at all the students at your school, we want to make sure we're looking at boys and girls, athletes and musicians, right? We don't want to just look at one particular group. That will be biased. If we're looking at the population of Japan, we don't want to just ask old people or just ask young people. And if we're looking at every 5th car in the parking lot, well, we don't want to just choose the fanciest cars. We want to look at all cars. The sample has to represent the chosen population. Once we have our population or our sample, we're going to collect that information. And so there's a couple types of information we can collect. The first type is called categorical data. This is information. It's usually not numerical, meaning it's not numbers, and it falls into different categories. So for instance, I could ask, what language do you speak? Well, you could say English, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, right? You would fall into one of maybe 200 different categories. Or your eye color, it's brown, it's blue, it's green. It falls into certain categories. On the other hand, we can have data that we call quantitative. And there's in quantitative the word quantity, numerical, numbers, right? So if I said, how many languages do you speak? Well, you might respond with a number. I speak 2. I speak 1. I speak 4. Similarly, if I ask about your age, you'd tell me a number of years. Your height, you'd tell me a number of centimeters or inches. That's quantitative data. Now, within quantitative data, there are 2 types of information, okay? 2 types of data that are both quantitative. The first is called discrete data. Discrete data is countable data, and it takes on only certain values. So for instance, the number of children you have, the number of pencils in your bag, those can only be whole numbers, right? You wouldn't say I have 6.2 children. It would only be certain values, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You could count them. That data is discrete. You can also look at continuous data. Continuous data is things that we measure instead of counting, and they can have an infinite number of values. So if we looked at your weight, right, you could weigh 20.35 kilos or 20.29 kilos. You could really weigh any amount. It wouldn't have to be a whole number of kilos. Same with time or length. So that's discrete data and continuous data. Here's what you can do from here. It's a basic introduction I've given you. You might not be able to master the learning objective yet, so here are some things you can do, okay? First, in the document that I've linked here, the level 1 document, just answer a few intro questions about data analysis. Remember, everything we learn we're applying, so this is going to get you in that state of mind, understanding that the tools we learn are tools to understand the world. And then you're going to get the chance to build your skills using two things. The first are some videos on Edpuzzle. I recommend you watch them, but they're optional, right? If they're helpful, watch them. If you know this stuff already, no need. You're also going to do some practice assignments on Khan Academy. Khan Academy is like problems on homework, except they're on the computer. They're more interactive, more fun. That's a great way for you to practice your skills. Once you've done that, I want you to take some notes on what you've learned, and I have some questions in the document you should make sure you can answer. Once you've done that, you're going to start drafting your own data analysis report. You're going to classify the data you've collected, right? You chose a global indicator. You want to classify that. Is it categorical or quantitative, discrete or continuous? And then identify the population and sample that you're studying. You're going to review your work with your teacher to make sure you're at a good level of mastery, and then you're going to complete a self-assessment survey. Once you've done those things, you'll be ready to move on. And last thing I'll say is, as you do those things, please do not hesitate to ask questions of your classmates, of your teacher, looking online, right? Asking questions is how we learn, so I encourage you to do that. Good luck.